Welcome to my channel called with Fernando. Today we're going to see phase 3 module 1 error handling. Okay, let's continue with fallback strategies. Fallback to a static value. So what's the goal of that? Keep streams alive by providing a safe default when errors occur. Okay, which one is the operator that we use for this? The operator is onErrorReturn. Emits a constant value instead of failing. Okay, when to use this operator? It's a simple static value works in almost all cases. You don't need dynamic recovery logic. Example, a service is down, return a default book, so the UI still shows something. Okay. Benefit: quick, predictable recovery with minimal complexity. So it's not that complex to implement that. To use this on a return value, on a return operator. Sorry. Let's continue with the other one. Fallback strategy: switch to another publisher, which is the goal in here in this case. Recover dynamically by switching to an alternative stream when an error occurs. So in this one, by using this operator, we are switching to an alternative stream. It's totally different than emitting just a default value. Which operator do we use in this case? We use the onErrorResume operator. Picks a new mono flags based on the error. When to use this operator? Whenever you want to try another resource, if the primary fails, for example, catch, backup API, static data. Then we have recovery logic depends on the error type of context. Example, database down, it's a fallback to catch data. Benefit, flexible recovery with context-aware responses. Fallback strategies, use catch or precompute data. Okay, what's the goal of this? The goal is to serve state but safe values instead of failing the request. Okay, I will repeat this again. The goal is to serve stale but safe values instead of failing the request. Which approach do we use in this case? We store non-good data in memory, this or maybe another services. Which operator do we use in this case? On a resume plus just empty. Okay, or also for flags on interval. When to use this operator? All data is better than no data. Okay, so which means this it's better to always show something than show nothing. The main source is slow, unreliable, or temporarily down. Is there any benefit? Yeah, sure, there is a benefit. Improve resilience and user experience without blocking, so we don't need to block anything. Fallback strategy, silent recovery versus reporting. Okay, this is really interesting. Silent recovery. Fail quietly and provides fallback data so users are unaffected. Reporting logs or record the error for observability before recovering. What is the typical pattern? We use the do on error, it logs offside metrics, or we can use also on error return, on error resume, return a fallback value or stream. Okay. So when to use this operator? You need both resilience and visibility. Failures must be tracked, but not disrupt the flow. Benefits: keep the system running and gives insight into issues. Okay, let's continue with our code demonstration with fallback with catch example. Okay, first of all, let me add some comment in here so we can have a bit of an idea what are we doing. Okay, let's simulate simulate a catch value. Catch value from, for example, memory, maybe a disk or external source. Okay, so let's create a private static final will be a constant. Okay, let's call this catch book and let's call this clean code. Okay, so this is going to be catch. Okay, great. Now let's simulate our remote service. Okay, remote service. Okay, let's create a mono type string. Let's call this remote service let's call it remote service. Okay, mono from callable. Great. So in here, what do we do? Okay, great. Let me print something here. Calling remote service. So we have a bit of idea what are we doing. Remote service. After that, let's simulate a network delay. Okay, so how do we do that? Thread sleep 500. Okay, and then let's throw an exception. New runtime exception. In this one, let's print. Not print. This is going to be the error, the exception, right? Service unavailable. Available. Okay, great. We have service. Okay, then what do we do? Let me check this. Service timeout. Okay, let's use the timeout operator in here. Timeout operator, duration of seconds. What about 2? Duration of seconds 2. Okay. Okay, now it's complaining. Mono object. Okay, I think it's here. String. Okay, great, it's working. Now we have our remote service. Okay, now what do we do? Let's get this. So let's create another mono of type string. Let's call it result, and let's get the remote service. Okay, remote service. Okay, on error resume. Now we are going to use these both operators on error resume in here. Okay, on error resume. What are we going to bring in here? Main source fail. Okay, then ever get message. Okay, so this is going to serve. I think we don't need to print anything here. Yeah, I'm confusing myself. Okay, we have on ever resume. Okay, so now we need to return mono and just of empty. Great. In here we are going to pass as a parameter this catch value. Okay, so now we're going to call optional of nullable and catch book. Great. Now what are we going to do? We are going to block this. Okay, we don't usually do this when we are working professionally, but this is just for demo purposes. Okay, so we are going to use block for demo purposes. So how do we do this? Let's create a string, final value. Let's get the result. Block. Okay, so now let's bring final value served to user. This is what the user will see on the screen, right? Final value. Okay, let me print this. Okay, great. So how does it work? Okay, first we have our main service. Okay, our remote main service, which is this one. Okay, this one throws an exception. Which one is exception? Remote service unavailable. Okay, after that we use the both operators. We use on error resume and we use just empty. In here we pass as a parameter the catch book in this case. Okay, the thing that we want to show on the screen, for example. Okay, finally we use the block operator. This is just for demo purposes finally we just printing here. That's why we see here final value served to the user. This one, this is the final value, which is clean code catch. Timeouts and graceful failures. So timeout, don't wait forever. What's the purpose of that operator? Cancel stream if it takes too long to emit or complete. Why does it matter? Prevent bottlenecks when waiting on slow external systems. Default behavior fails with a timeout exception if the time limit is exceeded. So when do we use this operator? Network, for example, network calls, database queries, any unpredictable latency. Is there any tip? Yeah, sure. Combine with a fallback on error resume to recover instead of failing completely. Then we have timeout plus on error resume. This is a grateful fallback. What's the purpose of that? Avoid breaking the pipeline when operation times out. Pattern. Apply timeout duration to cap waiting time. Okay. Then we have catch timeout exception with on error resume. Switch to a fallback value or alternate data source. Why does it work? It keeps you up responsive, even if dependencies are slow. Okay, this is quite interesting. It keeps you up responsive, even if dependencies are slow. Example use cases. Use catch of default data when APIs lag. Maintain user experience during temporary slowdowns. Okay, let's continue with our code demonstration. Or let's create a slow service. Okay, let me add some comment here. Simulate a slow service. So there would be a mono of type string. Okay, let's call this slow service. Okay, mono from callable. And here we do this. Let's call, for example, external services. Calling external services. Okay, now let's simulate slow service in here. A delay, let's call it delayed, but sleep. Okay, 300. Okay, it's enough. Then what do? We need to return fresh data from service. Okay, fresh data from service. This would be the answer. Fresh. Okay, great. Now we need to apply timeout. Okay, and also recovery. So how do we do this? Let's create a mono type of string. Okay, let's call this result, and let's get the slow services. Okay, let's use the timeout duration of seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, let me provide a comment here so we know what are we doing. Let's fail, for example, if it takes more than 2 seconds, more than 2 seconds. Great. So after that, what do? We use the on error resume operator. On error resume operator. Okay, great. So on error resume, we get the lambda expression error. Okay, in here, let's just print the error. Salt system.out.print. Okay, operation and timeout. Operation timeout. Yeah, sure. And here, let's print the message. Get message. Great. Now, recovering with fallback value. Great. In here, let's return a mono just empty just. Okay, here fallback data from catch. Great. Okay, that's it. Now we need to see this in action. For that, we need to use the block operator just for demo purposes. So use block for demo. Okay, so let's string final value. Let's get the result. Block. Okay. Finally, let's print this final value serve to user. So this is what the user is going to see on the screen, right? Final value. Okay, great. So let's see this in action. So we need to understand what's going on in the hood here. So we have our slow service in here. Okay, our slow service, it takes 3 seconds to respond. Then we use the timeout operator. Timeout operator fails after 2 seconds. If we don't have any answer before 2 seconds, it will fail. Okay, it will fail. And yeah, then we have the on error resume operator. On error resume operator catches the timeout error, okay, and return a fallback. Okay, a fallback. Which is the fallback? Okay, this is the fallback. I'm gonna just fallback data from scratch. Okay, it just in case. Okay, that's why we see final value. We see this data from the fresh data from service. Okay, fresh data from service. Okay, let's continue with best practices for resilient reactive error handling. So we have always handle potential errors. Okay, always anticipate errors. Every reactive streams can fail. We need to know that in advance. Default behavior and handle errors, send on error and stop the stream. Okay, avoid unexpected termination. Use on error resume for dynamic fallback logic. Use on error return so save static defaults. Tip: treat error handling as part of your pipeline design, not after thought. Use do on error for logging, not recovery. Okay, do on error is great for side effects like logging of metrics. It doesn't recover from errors or prevent stream termination. Always pair with on error resume or maybe on error return to handle recover. Summary: what have we learned here? How to handle errors in Project Reactor and build fault-tolerant reactive pipelines. Key concepts: reactive streams fail with on error, stopping the flow and let's handle. Graceful recovery via on error resume, retry, timeout, and more. So with tools do we have to achieve that? We have on error resume, on error return, retry, do on error, and timeout. Okay, thank you.